As Maya walked out of Walmart carrying several heavy grocery bags, she spotted a familiar black Toyota Camry crossing the parking lot. She recognized the license plate immediately. It was Taylor's car. Relieved, she waved for him to stop and help her. But the Camry rolled right past her without slowing down. Confused, Maya quickly pulled out her phone and called him. "Taylor, didn't you see me? What's wrong?" "I was in the Walmart parking lot. Your car just drove past me. I thought you could help me carry a few bags home." Taylor sounded impatient. "You make everything complicated. They're just groceries. You can handle them yourself. I'm busy. Are you almost home? What would you like for dinner tonight? I was thinking I could. Don't worry about dinner. Just fix yourself something to eat. I'm meeting a client, so I'll be home late." "Don't wait for me." He hung up before she could say another word. Maya lowered her phone and looked at the grocery bags in silence. She had hoped that running into her husband after work would spare her from carrying everything by herself. Instead, she was on her own again. She loaded the remaining bags into the back seat, got behind the wheel, and pulled out of the Walmart parking lot. Evening rush hour had already begun. Cars filled every lane as people headed home after work. Most of them were looking forward to spending the evening with their families. It wasn't even 6 o'clock yet, and once again, Taylor had already told her he wouldn't be home for dinner. Maya unlocked the front door and carried the grocery bags into the house one trip at a time. After setting everything on the kitchen island, she poured herself a glass of water and took a long drink, hoping to shake off the exhaustion. She dropped onto a chair and looked around the quiet house. The silence settled over her like it always did. She rubbed the side of her glass, glanced at the wall clock, then looked through the living room window. The city lights were beginning to glow as darkness slowly covered the sky. After letting out a long breath, she got to her feet and walked into the kitchen. Since Taylor wouldn't be home for dinner, she didn't feel like cooking a full meal. She decided to heat up a frozen pasta dinner instead. Before putting it in the microwave, she unpacked the groceries and arranged everything neatly in the refrigerator and pantry. Once the kitchen was clean again, she headed upstairs to take a shower. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, Maya studied her reflection. She pinched the extra weight around her waist and gave herself a faint, bitter smile. "I've really gained too much weight," she murmured. "I have to do something about it." Warm water streamed over her body as she promised herself that this time she would stick to a diet. It wasn't the first time she had stood in front of a mirror wishing she could look the way she used to. At least then she wouldn't feel so self-conscious standing beside Taylor. She knew he had never said anything about her appearance, but whenever they attended company dinners or social gatherings together, she couldn't shake the feeling that they didn't look like they belonged together. Taylor was tall, fit, and polished. Standing next to him only made her feel more insecure. After her shower, she walked back downstairs and heated the frozen pasta. She even added a slice of garlic bread to the plate. Just minutes earlier, she had promised herself she would start losing weight, yet the smell of food was enough to weaken her resolve. She smiled to herself. "One last time. I'll start tomorrow." By 9 o'clock that night, Taylor still wasn't home. Lying in bed, Maya couldn't fall asleep. She picked up her phone and sent him a text. "Are you almost home?" A reply came a few moments later. "Go ahead and get some sleep. I'll be home later." Seeing his message brought a small smile to her face. She pulled the blanket over herself and thought about the years they had spent together. They had been married for almost 2 years, yet they still didn't have a child. More than anything, she wanted to become a mother. She longed to hear a child's laughter filling the house. If they had a baby, nights like this wouldn't feel nearly as lonely. That longing was the reason she had tried every supplement and fertility vitamin people recommended. She had gained weight after taking so many of them, but she never regretted it if there was even the slightest chance they might help. She had already gone through every medical test her doctor recommended, and every result came back normal. Taylor, however, refused to be examined. He always brushed it off, insisting there was no reason to worry and that everything would happen when the time was right. He never understood how much pressure she carried every single day. The pressure didn't stop with her. Taylor's family wanted a grandchild just as badly. More than once, Maya had asked him to schedule an appointment with a fertility specialist, but he always claimed he was too busy. Every time she brought it up, he gave the same answer. "We'll deal with it later." She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer she could keep waiting. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the front door unlocking. Taylor was finally home. He staggered into the bedroom, reeking of whiskey and cigarette smoke. Maya climbed out of bed and hurried over to support him before he lost his balance. "Taylor, you've had way too much to drink. This isn't good for you." "I'm fine," he mumbled. "It was only a few drinks." "You say that every time. You don't get it. Sometimes drinking is part of the job." He slurred his words and lifted one hand as if he were still toasting with his clients. Maya helped him onto the bed, brought him a warm towel, wiped his face, and changed him into clean clothes. Nights like this had become familiar to her. After covering him with a blanket, she lay down beside him. Taylor was already asleep, breathing heavily. Even with the smell of alcohol filling the room, she felt more at ease than she did whenever he was away on business. At least tonight he was home. She slipped her arm around him and rested her head against his chest, searching for the comfort that had once come so easily. Half asleep, Taylor wrapped an arm around her. It was enough for Maya to close her eyes and drift off. The next morning, Taylor rubbed his temples as he walked into the kitchen. "Morning. What time did I get home last night? I barely remember anything. It was pretty late. You drank far too much again. My head is killing me." He washed his face, sat down at the table, and picked up his coffee. "By the way, I'll be leaving on a 3-day business trip next week." Maya looked up. 3 days? "We're closing a major contract." Her face fell. "So I'll be here by myself again." She walked over and took his hand. "Taylor, I really want us to have a baby. You're always traveling, and I'm alone in this house most of the time. What if I came with you on this trip? We could make an appointment with a fertility specialist while we're there." Taylor's expression changed for an instant before he pulled his hand away. "That won't work. I'm traveling with my team. Besides, why are you in such a hurry? We'll deal with it when things settle down." He stood up, carried his coffee mug to the sink, and headed upstairs to get dressed, leaving Maya standing alone in the kitchen. Once again, he had turned her down. It felt as though he no longer cared about starting a family with her. She pressed her hands together and fought back the disappointment. Taylor never seemed to understand how deeply she wanted to become a mother, or how much pressure she faced every time she was around his family. Maya's eyes filled with tears as memories of every visit to Taylor's parents' house came rushing back. Family gatherings had become something she dreaded. The moment she walked through the front door, everyone seemed to have the same question. Taylor's mother would greet her with a smile, then let her eyes drift to Maya's stomach before patting it lightly. "Any good news this month?" Maya forced an awkward smile and lowered her head. The older woman let out a disappointed sigh. "When are you two finally going to give me a grandbaby? Look at everyone else's children. Some couples have babies before they're even married. You two have been married for almost 2 years." She shook her head and raised her voice so the whole family could hear. "Why is it taking so long? Taylor is the only grandson carrying on this family's name. You two need to figure this out." Maya stood there without saying a word. Every sentence made her feel as if all the blame rested on her shoulders. Before she could gather herself, Taylor's sisters joined the conversation. "You'd better stop waiting and have a baby while you're still young. It only gets harder later." Another one leaned closer and lowered her voice. "A child keeps a marriage together. You should be careful. A man like Taylor could easily be tempted if you wait too long." The words sounded like advice, but every remark carried a hint of judgment. Maya felt their eyes traveling over her body. None of them cared how she felt. They only enjoyed talking. The truth was, no one wanted a child more than she did. She had swallowed every fertility supplement and every herbal remedy Taylor's mother recommended, no matter how bitter they tasted. She kept taking them because she believed they might give her a chance to become a mother. Instead, they caused her to gain more and more weight. She accepted every extra pound without complaint if it meant there was still hope. Yet Taylor refused to go to a doctor even once. His sisters mocked her appearance while pretending to care. No one tried to understand what she was carrying inside. Maya brushed away the tears rolling down her cheeks. Sometimes life felt painfully unfair. Taylor came downstairs, dressed for work. His broad shoulders filled out a crisp white dress shirt tucked neatly into a pair of black slacks. He adjusted his tie, smoothed his hair, and studied himself in the hallway mirror. Maya watched him from a distance. Then she looked down at herself. A bitter smile crossed her face. She was 5 years younger than Taylor, Yet standing beside him made her feel like the older one. While he seemed more polished every day, she only felt heavier and less confident. Taylor kept fixing his hair before spraying on cologne. Maya couldn't help noticing the change. He had never cared this much about his appearance before. Lately, he had been leaving early, coming home late, and paying far more attention to the way he looked. A thought crossed her mind, but she pushed it away almost as soon as it appeared. No, that can't be it. Even though Taylor had been busier than ever, he still gave her every paycheck, sometimes even more than before. He never complained about money, and he always made sure she had everything she needed. Maya walked over and slipped her arms around his waist from behind. She rested her cheek against his back and breathed in the scent of his cologne. "You look awfully dressed up today. Are you sure you're only going to work?" Taylor turned around with a forced smile. "You're overthinking it. This client is important, so I need to look professional." Maya smiled and held him a little tighter. "After this business trip, promise you'll spend some time with me." She rose onto her toes, hoping to kiss him, but Taylor reached for his phone and stepped away before their lips could meet. He gave her hair a quick pat instead. "All right, I'd better get going or I'll be late." He picked up his briefcase and walked out the front door. Maya stood where she was, unable to hide the disappointment on her face. It had been a long time since Taylor welcomed even the smallest gesture of affection from her. They had been married for less than 2 years, yet he always seemed to find a way to avoid her. Leaning against the wall, she wrapped her arms around herself and looked toward the bedroom. Memories of their newlywed days came flooding back. In this very house, Taylor used to linger every morning because he couldn't bear to leave her. A playful touch or a teasing smile from Maya was enough to make him pull her into his arms. "Maybe we have time for one more kiss before I leave," he would whisper with a grin. She would laugh and remind him he was going to be late for work, but neither of them cared. Their mornings had once been filled with laughter and affection. Somewhere along the way, those moments disappeared. Maya had loved Taylor enough to leave her hometown and move to Charlotte to build a life with him. After the pandemic, she couldn't find another full-time job, so she stayed home and took care of everything for both sides of the family, hoping he could focus on his career without worrying about home. Since then, however, the distance between them had continued to grow. They talked less, shared less, and the empty space in their marriage only became harder to ignore. Not having a child seemed to push them even farther apart. Maya tried to calm herself. Maybe she was reading too much into everything. Taylor worked hard every day to provide for their family. He had always been kind to her. She needed to be more understanding. Those thoughts helped ease her mind a little. She got up and started cleaning the house. Taylor walked out the front door without noticing how hurt she had been. Ever since Maya gained weight, he found himself growing more dissatisfied with her appearance. The image that stayed in his mind was the slim, petite woman she had once been. Whenever he heard other men complain about their wives putting on weight, he caught himself agreeing with them more and more. She stays home all day, he often thought. Taking care of herself shouldn't be that hard. Look at other men's wives. They always look attractive. Then look at mine. He shook his head, got into his Toyota Camry, and drove to work. On the way, his thoughts drifted to Chloe. She was the newest sales coordinator assigned to his department. Chloe had a beautiful face, a graceful figure, and striking eyes that were hard to ignore. Taylor had noticed her the very first day she arrived. Although he was her manager, he often found excuses to assign her extra work just so he could spend more time around her. Whether Chloe understood what he was doing or not, she never showed it. She handled every task quickly and professionally, which only impressed him more. At the same time, she seemed to know exactly how to keep him interested. Whenever Taylor tried to get a little closer, Chloe would find a reason to step away. She never rejected him outright, but she never encouraged him either. That small distance only made Taylor want her more. The desire to win her over kept growing stronger. Taylor walked into the office and headed straight for his office. Angela, his executive assistant, was already waiting with a folder in her hands. "Taylor, we have a problem. Summit Manufacturing wants to add several new terms to the contract." Taylor frowned, took the folder from her, and read through the documents. After a few moments, he looked up. "These changes put us at a disadvantage." "What do you think?" Angela nodded. "I think we should meet with them in person and try negotiating one more time. This is our biggest contract of the month, and several other companies are competing for it. Losing it would be a major setback. Taylor leaned back in his chair. Who should we send? To be honest, they specifically asked for you last time. You were away on another business trip, so they weren't very happy about it. Taylor closed the folder. I understand. Go ahead and arrange the meeting, and ask Chloe to come with me. We may need her. Got it. I'll put everything together and send you the schedule. After Angela left the office, Taylor walked over to the window. One hand slipped into his pocket while the other pulled the blinds aside. His eyes swept across the open office floor. Everyone was busy working at their desks except Chloe. Her chair was empty. He frowned, wondering where she was. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Come in. Kevin stepped inside, carrying another file. Taylor, I need your signature on these. Taylor took the paperwork, reviewed it, signed each page, and handed it back. Just as Kevin reached the door, Taylor called after him. Where's Chloe? I haven't seen her this morning. Angela asked her to prepare some documents. She should be back soon. Should I ask her to come in? Taylor shook his head. No, that's fine. Let her finish what she's doing. Kevin nodded and left. Taylor turned toward the window again. His eyes drifted back to Chloe's empty desk, waiting for her to return. After finishing the task Angela had given her, Chloe returned to her desk and leaned back in her chair. Kevin, who sat nearby, looked over at her. Done already? Taylor was asking about you. Chloe turned to him. Really? Did he say what he wanted? Not exactly. He asked where you were. I offered to call you, but he said there was no need. Chloe looked toward Taylor's office. A faint smile touched the corner of her lips before she looked back at Kevin. I'll go see if he needs anything. Instead of walking straight to his office, she stopped by the women's restroom. Standing in front of the mirror, she smoothed her hair, adjusted her blouse, and reapplied her lipstick. Once she was satisfied, she picked up a file and walked to Taylor's office. She knocked once and opened the door without waiting for an answer. Taylor looked up from his desk. A hint of pleasure crossed his face when he saw her. Do you need something? I brought this file for you to review. Let me see it. Chloe stepped closer and handed him the folder. As Taylor reached for it, his fingers brushed against hers. The brief touch sent a rush through him. Chloe drew her hand back and stood beside his desk while he looked through the documents. A slight smile lingered on her lips. She could tell that simple touch had unsettled him. Leaning closer, she turned a few pages and pointed to one section. Could you take another look at this part? Being that close to her made it hard for Taylor to focus. The scent of her perfume filled the space between them. His attention drifted from the file to her lips. Chloe noticed it immediately. Taylor? Are you listening? He cleared his throat. Yes, let me check. Just as he started leaning toward her, Chloe straightened up and took a step back, leaving a comfortable distance between them again. One moment she seemed close enough to invite him in. The next, she was completely out of reach. Taylor couldn't figure her out. After reviewing the file, he handed it back. Chloe thanked him, left the office, and closed the door behind her. A satisfied smile spread across her face. She knew exactly how to keep him chasing her. The rest of the day, Taylor couldn't stop thinking about Chloe. When Angela sent him the finalized travel schedule, he made sure Chloe would accompany him on the upcoming meeting with Summit Manufacturing. During the negotiations, Chloe's confidence and quick thinking helped secure the contract. Management praised both of them for the successful deal. Thanks to Taylor's arrangements, the company also approved Chloe to join him on the 3-day business trip. Taylor couldn't hide his excitement. Little by little, he found himself forgetting that someone was waiting for him at home. While Taylor was celebrating the successful deal, Maya continued taking the herbal medicine his mother insisted would help them have a baby. Every day, she stood over the stove for nearly an hour, simmering the mixture until the whole house carried its strong, bitter smell. The medicine made her appetite grow, and little by little, the number on the scale kept climbing. She didn't care. If it gave her even the smallest chance of becoming a mother, every sacrifice was worth it. She often pictured herself holding her own child, and that thought alone was enough to keep her going. Taylor walked into the house and wrinkled his nose. You're making that stuff again? Your mom sent more herbs. She said, I have to keep taking them if we want a baby. She picked up another bowl and held it toward him. You should drink some too. The doctor said we both need to. Taylor stepped back before she could finish. No thanks. The smell alone is enough to make me sick, and look what it's done to you. You want me to end up gaining weight too? Maya lowered the bowl. What's wrong if I've gained weight? I'm doing this for us. I'm doing it for our family. Here we go again. Taylor let out a frustrated sigh. You're always turning everything into an argument. An argument? Maya looked at him in disbelief. You think this is just an argument? Then take a good look at yourself. His voice became sharper. You stay home all day, and you can't even take care of yourself anymore. You've put on a lot of weight. Maya stared at him. So that's how you really feel. You're ashamed of me because I've gotten fat. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You're twisting my words. Taylor rubbed his forehead. I'm exhausted after dealing with work all day. I don't want to come home and argue too. Without waiting for her response, he turned around and walked into the bedroom, leaving Maya standing alone in the living room. Her mind went blank. She couldn't understand why he had treated her that way. She had never blamed him for anything. Everything she had done was for the family they were supposed to build together. Has he really grown tired of me? The question echoed over and over in her mind. That night, Maya walked into the bedroom. Taylor was already lying in bed with his back turned toward her, scrolling through his phone. She stood there for a moment before climbing into bed beside him. The sadness weighing on her heart refused to go away. She moved closer, slipped her arms around him from behind, and rested her forehead against his back. Taylor didn't respond. He stayed where he was, as still as a block of wood. After a few seconds, he reached down, removed her hands from around his waist, and spoke without turning around. I need to get some sleep. I have an early flight tomorrow. You should get some rest, too. Maya slowly pulled her hands back. His indifference cut deeper than any argument. She rolled onto her side, hugged a pillow against her chest, and let the tears fall in silence. Memories of the man she had fallen in love with kept replaying in her mind, making the emptiness beside her feel even heavier. Taylor never noticed. His thoughts were already on tomorrow's business trip with Chloe. Early the next morning, Maya made breakfast before Taylor came downstairs. He zipped up his suitcase, glanced at the table, and waved his hand. Don't worry about breakfast. I'll eat with the team. Maya didn't answer. She quietly cleared the dishes while watching him finish packing. He looked unusually cheerful as he prepared for the trip. She, on the other hand, hadn't slept all night. Catching her reflection in the glass cabinet, she stopped for a moment. Where had the delicate young woman she used to be gone? Her bright eyes had grown tired, her face had become rounder, and the extra weight beneath her chin was impossible to ignore. She used to weigh barely 104 pounds. Now she was closer to 130. Even she struggled to recognize herself. After Taylor left, the house became silent again. Staying home felt unbearable. Hoping to clear her mind, Maya decided to visit her college friend, Denise, who lived about an hour away. She picked up her phone and called her. Denise, it's Maya. Maya, it's been forever. How are you? I'm doing okay. Are you busy today? Not at all. The kids are at school, and my husband's been working in Louisiana for months. What's going on? Nothing really. Taylor's away on a business trip, and I didn't want to stay home by myself. I was wondering if I could come see you. Of course. I'd love that. Come over. I'll make us something good to eat. Hanging up, Maya felt a little lighter. She packed a small overnight bag, drove to Denise's house, and spent the trip watching the scenery roll past outside the window. Even so, she couldn't stop thinking about her marriage. Lately, she and Taylor hardly talked anymore. The distance between them kept growing, and she couldn't understand why. Every time the thought crossed her mind that Taylor might not love her the way he once had, her chest tightened. She loved him with all her heart. He had become the center of her life, and she couldn't imagine what would happen if they ever stopped walking the same path. When she arrived, Denise was already waiting outside. The two women hugged each other the moment they met. Back at the house, they spent the evening catching up over dinner. After Denise's children went to bed, the two friends finally had time to talk alone. Lying side by side like they used to in college, they shared stories about everything that had changed over the years. After listening for a while, Denise turned toward Maya. Something's wrong between you and Taylor, isn't it? Maya hesitated. No, everything's fine, Denise smiled gently. You don't have to pretend with me. I can see it on your face. Tell me what's been happening. Don't keep it all bottled up. The moment Denise said those words, Maya burst into tears. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Between sobs, she told Denise everything that had been happening in her marriage. Denise lay beside her and listened without interrupting. The more she heard, the more her heart ached for her friend. Back in college, Maya had been one of the most admired women on campus. She was beautiful, intelligent, and surrounded by admirers wherever she went. Denise fell silent for a moment before speaking again. "Maya, have you ever thought about making a few changes for yourself?" Maya looked at her. "What do you mean? Your appearance. I think it's time you started taking care of yourself again. Lose the weight the healthy way. Find the woman you used to be." Maya gave a bitter smile. "I want that too. I've tried so many times, but it's hard." "Then keep trying," Denise said. "Getting married doesn't mean you stop taking care of yourself. You can love your husband and still love yourself. Don't spend all your energy taking care of everyone else while forgetting that you matter too. Men are attracted by what they see. Women are moved by what they hear. Whether we like it or not, that's often how it works. If you keep neglecting yourself, someone else may catch his attention." Maya lowered her eyes. "Taylor has changed a lot lately. He's been getting irritated with me over nothing. He travels more than ever, and now he spends so much time fixing his hair and dressing up before work." Denise looked at her. "Have you ever wondered if he might be seeing someone else?" Maya shook her head at once. "No, I trust him. I don't even want to think about that." Denise reached over and held her hand. "Then start by taking care of yourself. Put yourself first for once. After that, pay closer attention to Taylor too." Maya looked at her with growing uneasiness. "Why are you saying that?" Denise let out a quiet sigh. "Because I've been where you are." Her eyes slowly filled with tears. "When I found out my husband was having an affair, I fell apart. It took me months to pull myself together. In the end, we stayed together because of the kids, but trust never fully came back. I'm staying in this marriage for my children." A tear rolled down Denise's cheek. Maya wrapped her arms around her friend. At that moment, she wasn't sure whose heart hurt more. All she knew was that being a woman sometimes felt unbearably painful. After a 2-hour flight, Taylor's team arrived in Charleston. The company had booked 5 separate rooms at a beachfront hotel, one for each traveler. Angela received the first room key, followed by Kevin, Brandon, Chloe, and finally Taylor. Everyone took their luggage upstairs, freshened up, and planned to meet in the lobby for dinner. Although the trip was mainly for business, everyone was looking forward to spending a little free time exploring the city. One by one, they came downstairs. Taylor deliberately slowed his pace, waiting outside his room until Chloe stepped into the hallway. She locked her door, but after trying several times, the key card still wouldn't work. Taylor walked over. "Let me." He took the card from her hand and leaned closer to help. As he returned it, his fingers brushed against her arm. Chloe looked at him with a teasing smile. This time, she didn't move away. Instead, she shifted a little closer until their shoulders nearly touched. Taylor glanced down the hallway. Seeing no one around, he slipped one arm around her waist and pulled her toward him. Chloe responded by wrapping her arms around his neck. They held each other for only a few seconds before letting go without a word. It was as though they had already agreed on everything without needing to say it aloud. Chloe straightened her dress and walked toward the elevator. Taylor followed a few steps behind, unable to take his eyes off her. During dinner, everyone laughed, talked about work, and made plans for the rest of the trip. Taylor barely joined the conversation. Every so often, his eyes drifted back to Chloe. She caught him looking more than once and answered with a quiet smile before turning back to the others. Around the table, no one seemed to notice what was happening between them. But Taylor and Chloe understood exactly what those silent glances meant. When dinner was over, everyone went their separate ways. Angela planned to visit her younger sister, who lived nearby. Kevin had arranged to meet a few close friends. Brandon decided to stay at the hotel and get some rest. Chloe said she wanted to take a walk along the beach and browse a few souvenir shops. Taylor told the group he was meeting a couple of old friends in town. Before long, everyone had gone their own way. Chloe walked alone along the shoreline. She was already getting bored, wandering around by herself when someone came up behind her. A figure moved close enough to make her jump. She spun around. "Who are you? Don't come any closer or I'll scream." Taylor raised a finger to his lips. "Shh, it's me." Chloe let out a breath. "You scared me." "I thought you were meeting your friends." Taylor smiled as he stepped closer. What friends? How could I leave a beautiful woman like you here by herself? Chloe rolled her eyes. Really? He leaned toward her and whispered, Did you actually think I'd leave you alone? Chloe smiled. I knew you'd come. Taylor took her hand and led her toward a darker stretch of the beach where the lights from the boardwalk barely reached. He slipped an arm around her waist and pulled her close. Chloe gave him a gentle push, but he didn't let go. Instead, he held her tighter and lowered his face until his lips met hers. They shared a long kiss before holding each other close. In that moment, Taylor forgot he had a wife waiting at home. He forgot the family he had built with Maya. All he wanted was the woman standing in front of him. After a while, his embrace loosened. Chloe stepped back and looked at him with pretend annoyance. What was that supposed to be? Taylor smiled and spoke softly. I can't stop thinking about you. Ever since you joined my department, you've been on my mind every day. Chloe rested her head against his chest. Really? Really? There's something about you I can't walk away from. She looked up at him. Then, should we be together? Taylor hesitated for only a second. I have a wife. Exactly. Chloe lowered her eyes. That's why this can't happen. Taylor took both of her hands. You don't understand. Maya and I haven't been happy for a long time. Then he began telling Chloe about his marriage. In his version of the story, Maya became an unattractive, nagging wife, while he painted himself as the victim trapped in a loveless relationship. Chloe listened without interrupting, showing sympathy at every turn. Under the glow of the lights along the beach, they continued walking hand in hand. Every now and then, the waves rushed up onto the sand, and Taylor pulled Chloe into his arms to keep her from getting wet. Chloe smiled, wrapped an arm around his neck, and looked into his eyes. You know something? I liked you the first time we met, Taylor smiled. Really? But you were already married. Taylor held her even closer. Being with you is the first time I felt loved in a long time. Maya and I don't have a real marriage anymore. I'm only staying because of responsibility. Sooner or later, we'll get divorced. Those words gave Chloe exactly the reassurance she wanted. She leaned close and whispered, Then I'll wait for you. But don't make me hide forever, Taylor nodded. Not yet. The company is considering me for a promotion to vice president. Until then, we have to keep this between us. I understand, Chloe replied. They kissed again before slowly making their way back. Before the business trip came to an end, the negotiations with Summit Manufacturing were completed successfully. Everyone on the team was in high spirits. Their return flight was scheduled for the following day, but Angela received an urgent call from home and flew back early. That left Taylor, Kevin, Brandon, and Chloe. Later that evening, Brandon asked Taylor and Kevin to go sightseeing with him around the city. Chloe rubbed her forehead and smiled apologetically. I'm getting a headache. I think I'll stay at the hotel and rest. Taylor immediately understood what she meant. He turned to Brandon. Something came up. I have to take care of a personal matter, so I won't be able to join you either. Once Kevin and Brandon left the hotel, Taylor lay on his bed, waiting. Just then, his phone lit up. Maya was calling. He frowned slightly before answering. Hi, how's work going? Did the meeting go well? Everything's almost finished. It went pretty well. I just wanted to check on you. You haven't called home once since you left. I've been swamped. Is there something you need? No, I just miss you. Have you been eating okay? Don't worry about me, Maya smiled to herself. When are you coming home? The plan is tomorrow, but it depends on whether anything changes. Okay, take care of yourself, all right? I will. I'd better go. I'm starving, and I still need to grab something to eat. All right, I'll let you. Before Maya could finish, Taylor ended the call. The moment the screen went dark, he opened his messages and texted Chloe. Miss you already. Her reply came almost instantly. Come over, Taylor smiled. Give me a few minutes. Let me take a shower first. Whistling to himself, he grabbed a towel and headed into the bathroom, already thinking about seeing Chloe again that night. After checking the hallway to make sure no one was around, Taylor walked to Chloe's room and knocked softly. The door opened almost at once. She had clearly been waiting for him. Taylor stepped inside, and the door closed behind him. The moment they were alone, he wrapped his arms around her and kissed her before lifting her off the floor. Chloe laughed as he carried her farther into the room. Neither of them tried to hide how much they wanted to be together. For the rest of the evening, they spent the evening together. shutting out everything beyond the room. Later, Chloe rested against Taylor with her head on his shoulder while gently tracing her fingers across his face. Taylor took her hand, pressed it against his chest, and kissed her forehead. "I love you," he whispered. "You're my woman now." Chloe looked at him with uncertainty. "What about your wife? What happens if she finds out? I'm afraid of being seen as the other woman. I never wanted to hurt anyone, but I fell in love with you." Tears welled up in her eyes. Taylor stroked her hair and pulled her closer. "Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. You're the one I love. Never forget that." The two of them lay together, exchanging promises and affectionate words, each believing the future would belong to them. The next day, the remaining 4 members of the team boarded their flight back to Charlotte. Everyone looked exhausted after 3 days away. Once they arrived at the office, Taylor found another excuse to stay with Chloe. After she finished gathering her things, he waited for her in the parking lot. They left separately from everyone else and drove away together. About 20 miles outside the city, Chloe turned to him. "Where are we going?" "I just want a little more time with you." "What about your wife?" "You're going home tonight." Taylor reached over with one hand and lightly pinched her cheek while keeping the other on the steering wheel. "Don't bring her up. I can't stand thinking about her anymore. You're the only one I want." Chloe leaned over and kissed his cheek. "Then don't leave me tonight." Taylor smiled. "There's a place nearby where no one will know us. We can stay there for a while before I go home." Chloe smiled without saying another word. It was nearly midnight when Taylor finally arrived home with his suitcase. The sound of the front door opening brought Maya out of the bedroom at once. A bright smile spread across her face. "You're home? Long trip?" "I'm exhausted," Taylor replied. "Why are you still awake?" "I knew you'd be home tonight. I couldn't fall asleep." Maya happily took his suitcase and began unpacking his clothes. Watching her quietly take care of him stirred a brief moment of guilt in Taylor, but the feeling faded as soon as he looked at her. All he could see was how much she had changed. Without saying another word, he walked straight into the bathroom. Maya waited for him in bed. When Taylor came back into the room, he climbed onto the bed and picked up his phone to scroll through the news. Maya leaned over, gently took the phone from his hand, placed it on the nightstand, and wrapped her arms around him. "I've missed you so much. Let's stop arguing, okay? I promise I'll do better." Taylor remained silent. He didn't know what to say. His heart no longer belonged to the woman beside him. Chloe had already taken that place. Maya looked up, waiting for a response. Taylor started to pull her arms away, but she held on even tighter. After a moment, he patted her hand. "All right, but I'm really tired tonight. Let me get some sleep." Maya looked at him with watery eyes. "It's been so long since we've been close. Don't you love me anymore?" She let go of him and turned away. Afraid she would become even more upset, Taylor reached over and placed an arm around her shoulders. "That's not it. You know how busy work has been. I've barely had time to rest. But I need you," Maya whispered. "I miss being close to you." She turned back, embraced him, and kissed him with all the affection she had been holding inside. Taylor tried to respond, but nothing happened. After a long silence, he looked away and gave her a helpless smile. "See? I told you. I just didn't want to worry you. Lately, I've been dealing with some performance issues." Maya stared at him in surprise. "Why didn't you tell me? We should see a doctor together." I thought you were avoiding me." She had no idea what had really happened before Taylor walked through the front door that night. Only hours earlier, he had spent his time wrapped up with Chloe before finally coming home. There was nothing left for Maya except another carefully crafted lie. Feeling sorry that Taylor's health had declined while she had failed to understand what he was going through, Maya rested her head on his arm and gently held him close. As long as he still loved her and remained committed to their marriage, she told herself she could suppress her own desires for a little while longer. That was enough for her. Taylor let out a quiet breath of relief. The excuse he had invented had worked perfectly. From now on, he could avoid being intimate with his wife without raising suspicion. The truth was, he had lost all interest in sharing a bed with Maya. More and more, it felt like nothing but an obligation. When someone no longer loves their spouse and chooses to betray their family, they can always find another excuse to justify it. The next morning, Maya got up early and planned to make a nourishing breakfast for Taylor. Before she could begin, he waved her off. "Don't bother. I'll grab breakfast with everyone from the office. You keep eating out. That's probably why your health hasn't been great lately. Come home early tonight, okay? All right, I'm heading out. As soon as Taylor stepped outside, he pulled out his phone and sent Chloe a message. Morning, sweetheart. I'll pick you up. Wait for me outside. His phone buzzed almost immediately. Hurry, handsome. Taylor smiled to himself. A few minutes later, he pulled his Toyota Camry over beside the curb. Chloe opened the passenger door, slipped inside, and before she could even fasten her seatbelt, Taylor wrapped an arm around her and kissed her deeply. Chloe leaned closer, slipped her arms around his neck, and whispered into his ear. You didn't break your promise last night, did you? Taylor smiled. I told you I'd go home with a clean conscience. Chloe laughed softly. Let's get to the office. Drop me off at the end of the block like usual. I'll walk the rest of the way, Taylor nodded. I'll take the long way around so no one sees us together. Chloe smiled with satisfaction. She enjoyed every bit of the attention Taylor gave her. The truth was, ever since joining the company, she had deliberately set out to attract him. She dreamed of marrying a successful man and building a comfortable life in the city. She knew Taylor had a wife, but that never stopped her. Taylor, meanwhile, had become completely trapped in the web Chloe had carefully spun around him. He was willing to betray the woman who had stood beside him through the hardest years of his life. When he had nothing, Maya had shared every hardship with him. Now that he had built a successful career, all he wanted was a younger, more glamorous woman who could satisfy his vanity and his desires. The idea of divorcing Maya had already taken root in his mind. The only reason he hadn't done it yet was because the timing wasn't right. For now, he still needed Maya beside him. To everyone at the company, she helped complete the image of a devoted husband with a stable family, and that spotless reputation mattered while he was being considered for a promotion. Taylor and Chloe's affair continued without anyone at the company noticing. Using his position as sales manager, Taylor found every excuse to have Chloe accompany him to meetings, negotiations, and client visits. Whenever they had the chance, they stole a few moments together. Sometimes, while the rest of the team was having lunch at a restaurant, Taylor would signal for Chloe to meet him in the restroom hallway. Other times, they slipped away to a quiet corner of the company parking garage. After business meetings outside the city, Taylor often took a longer route home so they could spend more time alone together. The two of them became completely absorbed in their secret relationship. Meanwhile, Maya trusted her husband without question. She continued putting aside her own needs because she believed Taylor was struggling with his health. She cared for him the best she could, hoping he would recover soon so they could finally have the child they had dreamed about for so long. But no secret stays hidden forever. If Maya hadn't found a used condom wrapper in Taylor's pants pocket one afternoon while doing the laundry, he might have kept deceiving her for much longer. While doing the laundry that afternoon, Maya reached into Taylor's pants pocket to make sure nothing had been left inside. As she shook the pocket out, a torn condom wrapper fell onto the floor. She froze. Slowly, she bent down and picked it up. There was no mistake. It was a condom wrapper. Her fingers tightened around it. Taylor used this? But that didn't make any sense. He had told her he was dealing with performance issues. Besides, they had been trying to have a baby for nearly 2 years. There was no reason for either of them to use condoms. Her mind filled with questions. She forced herself to take a deep breath and think through everything as calmly as she could. First, they had both wanted a child more than anything. Using birth control made no sense. Second, if Taylor's condition was real, paying for sex didn't make sense either. Yet the wrapper had come from his pocket. If he hadn't used it, how had it ended up there? No one else could have slipped it into his clothes. Taylor certainly wouldn't pick up someone else's condom wrapper and put it in his own pocket. One possibility slowly took shape in her mind. Taylor was having an affair. Then another thought struck her. What if everything he told me 2 months ago was a lie? Her knees gave way beneath her. She sank onto the floor, covered her face with both hands, and broke down. She had done everything she could to protect their marriage, yet the man she loved had betrayed her. For a moment, all she wanted was to run out the door, find Taylor, and demand an explanation. Acting on impulse, Maya grabbed her purse and rushed outside. She stopped after only a few steps. Where am I supposed to find him? Should she drive to his office and confront him in front of everyone? Should she call him home and accuse him? No. A condom wrapper alone wasn't enough to make him admit anything. He would deny it, turn everything back on her, and their marriage would become even colder than it already was. Maya closed her eyes and drew a slow breath. Calm down. She had to think before she acted. Instead of confronting Taylor right away, Maya decided she needed proof before making any move. She hailed an Uber and asked the driver to take her around the city for a while so she could clear her head. Leaning against the window, she stared at the evening lights passing by, trying to make sense of everything. Then the car stopped at a red light. Almost by instinct, she glanced into the next lane. Her eyes widened. "Isn't that Taylor's car?" She leaned forward for a better look. The man behind the wheel was unmistakably Taylor. She started to lower the window, ready to call his name, but stopped. A young woman in the passenger seat had both arms wrapped around him. Maya's entire body went numb. The traffic light changed. "Please!" she cried, turning to the driver. "Follow that black Camry! Please! Don't lose it!" "Do you know them?" the driver asked. "Just follow that car. Please! Hurry!" Her hands were soaked with sweat as she pressed them together, struggling to stay calm. Taylor's car left downtown and headed toward the outskirts of the city. A few minutes later, it pulled into the parking lot of a roadside motel. Maya asked the driver to stop a short distance away where they wouldn't be noticed. She sat there, praying the people inside the car wouldn't get out. But the driver's door opened first. Taylor stepped out, walked around the car, slipped an arm around the young woman's waist, and the two of them headed toward the motel entrance as if they had done it many times before. Maya bit down so hard on her lip that she tasted blood. She climbed out of the car, but her legs gave out beneath her. She grabbed the side of the vehicle to keep herself from collapsing. The driver looked at her and quietly shook his head. He had seen scenes like this before. "Is that your husband?" he asked gently. "Do you want to go in and confront them?" Maya never took her eyes off the motel. "No," she whispered. "I've seen enough." Maya pressed a hand against her chest. The pain was so overwhelming that she could barely breathe. No words could describe what it felt like to watch the man she loved walk into a motel with another woman. She stood there in a daze, her body numb, unable to move. The Uber driver stepped out and walked over to her. "Ma'am." Maya slowly turned toward him. "Hand me your phone." She stared at him in confusion. "Why?" "I'll take pictures for you. You shouldn't leave empty-handed after coming all this way." Maya didn't respond. Like someone moving on instinct, she opened her purse, took out her phone, and placed it in his hand. The driver walked closer to the motel entrance and quietly took several photos of Taylor and Chloe before returning. Maya accepted the phone without saying a word. They got back into the car and headed toward Charlotte. She leaned her head against the window and closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks one after another, but she didn't bother wiping them away. The shock had drained every bit of strength from her. She didn't know what to do next or where to go. She wished her parents lived nearby so she could run into their arms and cry, but telling them the truth would only break their hearts. This burden was hers alone. No one else could carry it for her. By the time Maya reached home, she could barely feel her legs. She pushed the front door open and stepped into the silent house. Her eyes drifted to the wedding portrait hanging on the wall. The smiling couple in the picture looked like strangers now. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. While Taylor was wrapped up in another woman's arms, she had been here believing they still had a future together. She picked up her phone and found Taylor's number. Her finger hovered over the call button. Part of her wanted to ruin everything, to force him to leave that motel and answer for what he had done. She wanted a divorce. She wanted to end it that very night. But before pressing the button, she stopped. Wouldn't that make things too easy for him? If she filed for divorce now, Taylor and Chloe would be free to be together without anything standing in their way. After everything she had sacrificed for him, was she really supposed to walk away with nothing while they got the ending they wanted? Maya slowly lowered the phone. "No," she whispered to herself. "It can't end like this." She wiped away her tears and forced herself to think. Before she divorced Taylor, she wanted him to lose everything he cared about. She wanted him to feel the same pain he had forced her to endure. She lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling as countless thoughts raced through her mind. Then she suddenly remembered Denise. Without another moment of hesitation, she called her. Denise had just settled into bed when her phone lit up. Seeing Maya's name on the screen, she answered immediately. "Maya?" Only sobs came from the other end. Denise stayed quiet, waiting for her friend to calm down. After a while, she spoke gently. "Take a deep breath. I'm here. Tell me what happened." Through her tears, Maya finally managed to speak. "Taylor, he betrayed me. I saw him with another woman. They went into a motel together." Denise closed her eyes. Hearing those words brought back memories she had spent years trying to bury. She sat upright and brushed her hair back. "Listen to me. You have to stay calm. Tell me everything from the beginning." Like someone who had finally found a lifeline, Maya told her everything she had seen that evening, every thought that had been tearing her apart, and every ounce of pain she had been carrying alone. After listening carefully, Denise spoke in a steady voice. "Don't confront him yet. Men who are having an affair rarely admit the truth, and once they realize you've found out, they'll become even more defensive. Right now, you need to protect yourself first. Get your life back on track. Take care of yourself. Lose the weight if that's what you want. Find a job again. Whatever happens next, you need to be strong enough to stand on your own." Denise's words slowly settled Maya's heart. The pain was still there, but it no longer felt like it was swallowing her whole. After the call ended, Maya lay quietly for a long time before getting up and opening the closet. She pulled out the bachelor's degree she had earned years earlier and ran her fingers across the frame. She had left it untouched for far too long. "It's time," she whispered. She opened her laptop, searched for job openings around Charlotte, updated her resume, and began sending out applications. Over the next few days, Taylor noticed Maya had changed. She no longer fussed over him or waited for him to come home. She stopped brewing the herbal medicine every day and spent more time outside the house. Taylor found it unusual, but he didn't think much of it. In fact, he welcomed the change. With Maya no longer watching his every move, it became even easier for him to spend time with Chloe without having to make excuses. Maya quietly began preparing for the end of her marriage. She met with a divorce attorney to understand her legal options, then hired a private investigator to gather solid evidence against Taylor and Chloe. At the same time, she started taking better care of herself. Whenever Taylor told her he was leaving for a meeting, she no longer questioned where he was going or when he would be back. Instead, she simply asked him to transfer money for household expenses. Taylor wasn't happy about it, but as long as it meant he could spend time with Chloe without being bothered, he agreed. Neither of them said it out loud, but they both understood the unspoken arrangement. Taylor wanted freedom. Maya wanted financial security. Every month, Maya set aside enough money for groceries, utilities, and everything the household needed. Whatever remained went straight into her savings account. She knew Taylor earned much more than his base salary through bonuses and commissions, so she always found reasonable excuses that made him willingly transfer more money. She knew the day would come when she would need every dollar she had saved. While applying for jobs, Maya also enrolled in a medically supervised weight loss program at Charlotte Medical Center. Every day, she followed her nutrition plan, showed up at the fitness center on time, and completed every workout exactly as her trainers instructed. Unlike all the times she had quit halfway before, this time she refused to give up. She held herself accountable every single day. The heartbreak Taylor had caused, combined with a structured health program, helped her lose weight much faster than she expected. No matter how busy she was, Maya never skipped a session. Her determination soon caught someone's attention. Jordan was 31 years old. He had been training at the fitness center for several years. Not long ago, he had struggled with his weight himself. At 6 feet tall, he had once weighed more than 200 pounds. His appearance had made job hunting much harder than he expected. Even though he had graduated with honors, interview after interview ended with polite rejections the moment recruiters saw him. Realizing his weight had become an obstacle, Jordan committed himself to changing his lifestyle. After months of disciplined training, he brought his weight down to 165 pounds. As his confidence grew, his career finally took off. He now worked as the human resources manager for a well-known company in Charlotte. Even after reaching his goal, he kept the habit of working out every day. That was where he first noticed Maya. When she joined the program, she weighed around 130 pounds. Just 6 weeks later, she was down to 115. Jordan admired her determination. Most people came to the gym full of motivation, only to disappear after a few weeks. Maya was different. She never missed a workout. She followed every instruction without complaint. The only thing that puzzled him was the sadness she carried with her. She had bright eyes and naturally delicate features, yet he had never once seen her smile. What happened to her? The question stayed in his mind. Before long, watching Maya from a distance became part of his daily routine. Then one day, she didn't show up. Jordan kept glancing toward the spot where she usually trained, but she never appeared. The workout didn't feel the same without her. He found himself wondering whether she had quit the program. The thought alone left him strangely disappointed. Early the next morning, Maya went for a run in the park. With her earbuds in, she focused on her pace and paid little attention to the people around her. After a while, she sensed someone running beside her. She slowed down, then stopped completely. The man beside her stopped too. Maya removed one earbud, wiped the sweat from her forehead with a towel, and looked at him. "You've been running next to me this whole time, haven't you?" "Wait, you look familiar," Jordan laughed. "You run pretty fast. It took some effort to catch up with you. Why were you trying to catch me?" "I just wanted to run with you." Maya raised an eyebrow. "That's all?" Jordan rubbed the back of his neck. "Actually, why didn't you come to the gym yesterday?" Maya smiled as recognition crossed her face. "I remember now. You're the guy who works out at the same gym." Jordan nodded with a grin. Maya pointed toward a nearby bench. "Let's sit for a minute." After they sat down, she asked, "I missed one workout. Why does that matter to you?" Jordan realized what he had just revealed and looked embarrassed. "Well, I just thought I'd lost my workout partner." Maya laughed. "Don't worry. I'm not quitting. I still have something important I need to accomplish." She stood up, slipped her earbud back in, and smiled. "See you at the gym." Before Jordan could say anything else, Maya took off running again. He watched her disappear down the trail, unable to stop smiling. After that morning in the park, Jordan found more excuses to talk to Maya after their workouts. Sometimes he invited her to grab a bottle of water. Other times, he asked if she wanted to get coffee before heading home. As they spent more time together, Maya gradually became more relaxed around him. The sadness that had always lingered on her face slowly gave way to occasional smiles. She even started teasing him now and then, leaving Jordan with nothing to do but smile awkwardly in return. Once he felt Maya trusted him enough, Jordan finally asked the question that had been on his mind for weeks. "Can I ask you something?" Maya looked up from her coffee. "Sure. What made you so determined to lose weight?" She was quiet for a moment before answering. "My husband is having an affair." Jordan's smile faded instantly. He sat there in silence, unsure of what to say. Hearing those words, he felt as though he had accidentally touched a wound that had never healed. Maya noticed his expression and gave him a faint smile. "It's okay. You don't have to look so worried." Jordan let out a slow breath. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." "You couldn't have known." Maya wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. "For a long time, I thought if I loved him enough and sacrificed enough, everything would work out. I was wrong." Neither of them spoke after that. They sat quietly with their coffee, each lost in different thoughts. As the weeks passed, Maya's body continued to change. Her face became slimmer, her figure more graceful, and the way she dressed grew more polished and elegant. The transformation caught Taylor completely off guard. Standing across from his wife one evening, he could hardly believe she was the same woman he had once dismissed as overweight and unattractive. Because he left early every morning and rarely returned before midnight, he had never paid much attention to what Maya was doing. Most nights, she was already asleep when he got home. Her sudden transformation left him genuinely surprised. Could she be seeing someone? The thought flashed through his mind, but he quickly shook it away. No, that can't be right. Even so, the question refused to leave him. Finally, he looked at her and asked, "You've changed lately." Maya met his eyes. "You finally noticed?" "You've lost a lot of weight." She smiled faintly. "I didn't realize you still paid attention to your wife. I thought the only things that interested you were outside this house." Taylor frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing." He stared at her for another second before turning away. Maya watched him walk into the bedroom, then let out a cold, mocking smile. If only she could grab him by the collar and force him to admit every lie he had been living. But not yet. His time hadn't come. A few weeks later, Pinnacle Industrial Solutions held its annual company reception and invited employees to bring their spouses. Taylor deliberately kept the event from Maya. He had no intention of taking her with him. What he didn't know was that Maya had already learned about the reception through the private investigator she had hired. On the night of the event, Taylor walked through the ballroom greeting guests with a glass of wine in his hand. Chloe stood nearby in an elegant evening dress, chatting with several coworkers. Before long, people began asking the same question. "Taylor, where's your wife?" Taylor forced a smile. She had something to take care of tonight, so she couldn't make it. One of the employees laughed. "You keep your wife hidden from us. You have to bring her next time." Taylor smiled politely. "I will." Just then, a calm voice came from behind him. "You don't have to wait until next time. I'm here." Everyone turned toward the entrance. A woman in a fitted white dress walked into the ballroom with quiet confidence. The dress accentuated her slim waist, and her graceful appearance immediately drew everyone's attention. She walked straight to Taylor, slipped her arm through his, and smiled warmly at the group. "Sorry I'm late. Something came up at the last minute." Then she turned to Taylor. "I kept you waiting, didn't I?" Taylor stood there speechless. For a moment, he couldn't believe the elegant woman beside him was Maya. "Wow, your wife is gorgeous." "Taylor, you've been hiding her from us." Maya smiled and shook hands with everyone one by one. When she reached Chloe, she looked directly into her eyes and extended her hand. "It's nice to finally meet you." Chloe forced a smile and reached out. Maya clasped her hand firmly before letting go. The brief handshake caught Chloe off guard. She had never imagined the woman Taylor constantly complained about would look like this. Taylor's forehead began to bead with sweat. He watched the two women carefully, afraid Maya might expose everything right there. As soon as he found an opportunity, he pulled Maya aside. "Why did you come? Why shouldn't I?" she asked calmly. "This event is for employees and their spouses, isn't it? Come on, let me take you home. The reception has barely started." Maya held his gaze. "Shouldn't I stay with my husband and meet the executives? Isn't that what every other spouse is doing?" Taylor lowered his voice. "There are important people here tonight. They have a say in my promotion. Don't do anything that'll embarrass me." Maya glanced across the room. Chloe was watching them from a distance. Without changing her expression, Maya slipped her arm around Taylor's and rested her head lightly against his shoulder, making sure Chloe could see them together. Then she spoke through a smile. "Relax. I'm not here to make a scene. As long as you don't start one." Taylor stiffened. "What are you talking about?" Maya met his eyes. "You know exactly what I mean." Across the ballroom, Chloe watched them, standing so close together. Doubt slowly crept into her mind. Had Taylor been lying to her all along? Only moments ago, she had been certain he was ready to leave his wife. Now she wasn't so sure anymore. Her phone vibrated in her hand. "What's going on? Explain this." Taylor glanced at the message, then looked around the room for Chloe. Maya quietly withdrew her arm and walked back toward the other guests, leaving Taylor no choice but to follow. For the rest of the evening, he had to keep smiling beside his wife, playing the role of the devoted husband in front of the company's leadership, even though his mind was consumed by how he was going to calm both Maya and Chloe. While everyone was busy talking in the ballroom, Taylor quietly slipped away and headed toward the restrooms. Chloe followed a few moments later. As soon as she stepped inside, Taylor closed the door behind them, pulled her into his arms, and began stroking her hair. "What's wrong?" he whispered. "You really have to ask?" Chloe looked at him with hurt in her eyes. "Didn't you see what happened tonight?" Taylor sighed. "Maya showing up caught me completely off guard. I'm trying to deal with it too. Please don't be upset." Chloe folded her arms across her chest. "What if she starts causing trouble? I don't know what she'll do." Taylor gently held both of her hands. "She won't do anything. Just help me get through this, okay?" Chloe looked at him for a moment before speaking again. "Then divorce her." "I can't keep hiding like this forever." Taylor nodded. "Soon. The paperwork for my promotion to vice president is almost finished. Once that's done, I'll leave her. Then I'll make you the wife of a vice president." Chloe's face brightened. "You promise?" "I promise. You're the only woman I love." He pulled her against the wall, wrapped one arm around her waist, and lowered his head to kiss her. The kiss grew longer as neither of them wanted to let go. The thrill of loving each other in secret only made Taylor crave her more. A few moments later, he suddenly pulled back. "I'd better go." If we stay here too long, someone might start wondering where we are. Chloe nodded and straightened her dress. You go first. I'll fix my clothes and come out in a minute. Taylor lightly pinched her cheek before opening the door. He looked both ways to make sure no one was nearby, slipped his hands into his pockets, and calmly walked back toward the ballroom. What he never realized was that Maya had been standing inside the women's restroom next door the entire time. She had heard every word of their conversation. More importantly, she had recorded all of it on her phone. Maya stood frozen inside the restroom next door. She pressed a hand against her chest as tears filled her eyes. Taylor was really planning to leave her. It wasn't just an affair anymore. He had already decided to end their marriage. When she first discovered his betrayal, part of her still hoped he would come to his senses. She had loved him with all her heart. He had been her first love, the man she chose to spend the rest of her life with. Even after everything she had learned, a small part of her still wished he would regret what he had done and come back to her. That hope was the reason she had pushed herself so hard to lose weight. She wanted him to see the woman she used to be. She wanted him to fall in love with her again. Now she finally understood how foolish that hope had been. Taylor no longer loved her. His heart already belonged to someone else. Maya's legs gave way beneath her. She sank onto the floor, covered her mouth with both hands, and struggled to keep herself from crying out loud. Every laugh, every whisper, every kiss she had just heard felt like another knife cutting into her heart. He had been unbelievably cruel to her. After several minutes, Maya slowly wiped away her tears and forced herself to stand. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. "No more," she whispered. "I'm done being weak." She tightened both fists and held her own gaze. "You want everything to go your way?" A cold smile appeared on her face. "Not this time." In that moment, her plan became completely clear. Taylor's promotion was almost finalized. If she didn't expose the truth now, it would soon be too late. Maya took out her lipstick, carefully touched up her makeup, straightened her dress, and walked out of the restroom as though nothing had happened. Tomorrow, she had a great deal to do. Later that night, Maya spread every piece of evidence she had gathered across the dining table. The photographs from the private investigator, the motel pictures, the audio recording from the company reception. She carefully divided everything into 2 separate folders. One would be submitted to Taylor's company together with a formal complaint. The other would become part of her divorce case. After putting everything in order, one thought remained in her mind. Before dealing with Taylor, she wanted to meet the woman who had knowingly destroyed her marriage. The next morning, Maya gathered the evidence, changed into a simple outfit, and left the house. She wanted to see the woman who had knowingly stepped into someone else's marriage. Chloe had just arrived at work when Maya approached her. Chloe looked up in surprise. "Oh, we met at the company reception, didn't we?" Maya gave her a calm smile. "You forgot me already? Let me introduce myself again. I'm Maya, Taylor's wife." Chloe hid the uneasiness on her face and forced herself to stay composed. "Did you need something?" Maya glanced toward a coffee shop across the street. "Let's have a cup of coffee. It'll only take 5 minutes. Or, if you'd rather, we can sit in the company cafeteria. Your choice." Chloe immediately understood what Maya meant. Talking outside the office would attract far less attention. She nodded. "Let's go to the coffee shop." A few minutes later, they sat across from each other. Maya looked quietly at the woman who had destroyed her marriage. For a brief moment, she wanted to grab Chloe by the hair, throw her to the floor, and humiliate her the way she had seen in videos of public cheating scandals. She wanted to splash a drink in her face. She wanted to let all of her anger explode. But once she was actually sitting there, she couldn't bring herself to do any of it. Chloe tried to appear calm. Then she reached for her phone. Maya gave a faint, mocking smile, leaned forward, and gently pushed Chloe's hand away from it. "Thinking about calling your boyfriend for help?" Chloe pulled her hand back. "Why would I do that? Then tell me. Why did you want to see me?" Maya looked straight into her eyes. "You know exactly why I'm here," Chloe shrugged. "I don't know what you're talking about." Maya's voice turned cold. "You're seeing my husband." Chloe's expression stiffened for a second before she lifted her chin. "Yes, we're in love." Maya gave a bitter laugh. "Love? You're his mistress." Chloe leaned back in her chair. Her confidence slowly returned. I'm not denying who I am, but in love, the person who's loved is the one who wins. You should take a good look at yourself. Taylor loves me. You're the one he left behind. You're the loser here. He chose me, not you. So stop trying to hold on to him. Sooner or later, he'll divorce you and we'll be together. Every word struck the deepest wound in Maya's heart. She rose from her chair, picked up the glass of ice water in front of her, and threw it straight into Chloe's face. Before Chloe could react, Maya slapped her hard across the cheek. Chloe stumbled back in shock, one hand covering her burning face. Water dripped from her hair and soaked the front of her blouse. Embarrassed by the people looking their way, she didn't dare raise her voice. She glared at Maya with resentment. Maya met her stare without flinching. That slap and that glass of water are to remind you to wake up. Everything you do has consequences. Don't spend your life stealing what belongs to someone else. Chloe gritted her teeth. No matter what you do, Taylor will never love you again. Maya smiled coldly. You keep saying he loves you. Fine. Then tell me this. Why hasn't he divorced me yet? I'm still his legal wife. You're still the woman he keeps hidden in the shadows. Chloe bit her lip but said nothing. Maya picked up her purse and stood. Taylor isn't some prize I'm fighting over. He's nothing more than something I've already decided to throw away. If you want him, you're welcome to take him. Without another glance, Maya turned around and walked out of the coffee shop, leaving Chloe sitting there with anger burning in her eyes. The moment Chloe left the coffee shop, she pulled out her phone and called Taylor. Taylor! Her voice shook with anger. Your wife knows everything. She just came to see me. Taylor's face tightened. What happened? She slapped me and threw water in my face. She knows about us. Are you okay? Forget about me. What are you going to do? Stay at the office. I'll handle it. Taylor ended the call and drove home as fast as he could. When he walked through the front door, Maya was already sitting on the living room sofa waiting for him. She looked up at him with cold, steady eyes. There was no fear left in them. Taylor walked over and stopped in front of her. So, you've known for a while? Maya gave a faint smile. Disappointed that I found out sooner than you expected? What do you want? What do I want? Maya stood up. You betrayed me. You've been sleeping with another woman. Now you're asking me what I want. Every ounce of pain she had buried for months burst out at once. Taylor remained expressionless. After a long silence, he finally spoke. You can hate me if you want. I know I let you down. But think about it. I've worked hard all these years and provided everything for this family. What about you? You stayed home while I earned the money. Men have affairs all the time. It happens. You can't expect me to be perfect. Maya stared at him in disbelief. So now I'm nothing more than a woman living off your money? Her voice trembled with anger. Think carefully before you say that. Who was the one that asked me to quit my job after we got married? Who gave up a career and invested every dollar I had to help you build yours? And now you're telling me I just sat at home while you supported me? Taylor looked away. The fact is, I've been the one paying the bills. Then let's get divorced. Maya pointed toward the door. I'm sick of living with someone like you. Taylor's expression hardened. Divorce? Forget it. You're having an affair and you still refuse to divorce me? We'll keep living like this. You mind your business. I'll mind mine. Maya laughed bitterly. You expect me to share my husband with another woman? Taylor stepped closer until they were almost face to face. His voice dropped into a warning. Listen carefully. As long as you stop making trouble, I'll keep supporting you financially. You'll still have the life you have now. But if you insist on divorcing me, he paused before finishing, you'll walk away with nothing. Maya's eyes filled with fury. You think you can threaten me? Taylor said nothing. He turned, slammed the front door behind him, and left. Maya stood alone in the silent house. She bit her lip until it hurt. Very soon, she whispered. The mask you've been hiding behind at work is coming off. You'll pay for everything you've done to me. After Taylor stormed out, Maya grabbed a light jacket and left the house. There was no reason to sit alone, surrounded by memories that only made the pain worse. The city glowed beneath the evening lights as couples walked hand in hand along the sidewalks. Seeing them only deepened the loneliness in her heart. As she wandered without a destination, a car slowed beside her. The passenger window rolled down. Jordan leaned out with a smile. Hey, fancy running into you again. Where are you headed? Maya forced a faint smile. Nowhere. I just needed some fresh air. Jordan pulled over and got out of the car. Mind if I keep you company? Maya looked at him for a moment before nodding. They began walking side by side in silence. After a while, Maya glanced at him. Don't you have a family waiting for you at home? Jordan laughed. I don't even have a wife yet. What family? Maya looked at him skeptically. I don't believe you, Jordan smiled. I'm serious. Maya clicked her tongue without saying anything. Part of her couldn't help comparing him to Taylor. Then Jordan spoke again, almost as if he had guessed what she was thinking. Really? I'm not married. Maya gave a small smile. Whether you are or not doesn't have anything to do with me. They continued walking together. Just then, a young boy came racing toward them on a bicycle. Everything happened so quickly. Jordan reached out, wrapped an arm around Maya, and pulled her safely against him as the bicycle sped past. The boy lost his balance and tumbled onto the pavement. Jordan hurried over and helped him to his feet. Are you okay? The boy rubbed his elbow and nodded. I'm okay. Sorry, sir. Sorry, ma'am. Jordan smiled. Be careful next time, all right? Yes, sir. The boy climbed back onto his bike and pedaled away. Jordan turned back to Maya. You all right? Maya nodded. Yeah, just a little startled. Thanks. No problem. He studied her for a moment before asking softly, How are things going? Are you doing okay? Maya let out a long breath. It's almost over, her voice caught. I'm not okay at all. She tried to hold back the tears, but they still gathered in her eyes. For so long, she had hidden every crack in her heart behind a calm expression. Now, after hearing someone ask if she was okay, she realized how exhausted she truly was. Jordan walked beside Maya, his heart aching as he watched her struggle to hold back her tears. The night air had turned chilly. Maya folded her arms across her chest and pulled her jacket tighter around herself. Without saying a word, Jordan slipped off his suit jacket and gently placed it over her shoulders. Then he quietly tucked both hands into his pockets again and kept walking beside her. Maya looked at him in surprise. Aren't you cold? Jordan smiled. I'll be fine. She carefully took the jacket off and handed it back to him. Thank you. I should head home. Jordan accepted it, though he clearly wanted to spend a little more time with her. He couldn't explain why, but for the past several months, Maya had never really left his mind. He remembered the sadness in her eyes, the quiet expression she always wore at the gym, and more than anything, he wanted to protect her from whatever pain she had been carrying. Those feelings stayed hidden inside him. He had never told anyone, and he wasn't ready to tell Maya either. Take care of yourself, he said softly. Maya nodded with a faint smile. You too. Thanks for tonight. She turned and walked toward her house. Jordan remained where he was, watching until she disappeared from sight. Only then did he get back into his car and drive away. The next morning, the office was buzzing before the workday had even begun. Have you heard? One employee whispered. Heard what? Another asked. It's about Taylor and Chloe. What happened? The first employee glanced around before lowering his voice. The general manager called both of them upstairs. Seriously? I'm telling you, it's true. Why? He leaned in even closer. There are pictures of the two of them together sitting on the general manager's desk. Everyone stared at him in disbelief. That's not all, he continued. Someone also filed a formal complaint accusing Taylor of having an affair with Chloe. You're kidding. No. They say there are photos of the two of them together in a formal complaint with the evidence. So it's actually true. The room fell silent as everyone exchanged stunned looks. The news spread through the office like wildfire. Everywhere Taylor went, people whispered behind his back. Whenever he walked past, conversations stopped, only to start again the moment he was out of sight. Every discussion that day revolved around his affair. Coworkers glanced at Chloe with open contempt. I can't believe she knowingly went after a married man. She's smart and attractive. Why would she choose something like this? One of the younger guys sighed dramatically. No wonder guys like me are still single. The women in the office burst into laughter at his exaggerated expression. Before the end of the day, the general manager informed Taylor and Chloe that they were being placed on temporary leave while the company investigated the complaint. Taylor walked out of the office with anger written all over his face. He knew exactly who was responsible. The moment he got home, he stormed inside. Maya had barely looked up before a sharp slap landed across her face. She stumbled and fell to the floor, one hand covering her burning cheek. Looking up at him, she met his furious stare. Taylor pointed a finger at her. "You did this, didn't you? I warned you. Why did you send that complaint to my company? Do you have any idea what you've done? I'm your husband. I was about to be promoted to vice president, and you ruined everything." Maya slowly rose to her feet. A strange laugh escaped her lips. "So this is why you hit me?" Taylor froze for a second, glancing down at the hand he had just used. It was the first time he had ever struck his wife. Maya walked straight toward him without hesitation. Then she raised her hand and slapped him across the face. Taylor staggered back in shock. "You slapped me?" Maya looked directly into his eyes. "I'm not the woman who silently endured everything anymore. If you hit my right cheek, I'll hit your left. And remember this. I installed security cameras in this house. If you ever lay another hand on me, everyone will know exactly what kind of man you are." Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice remained steady. "I gave you everything. I loved you with my whole heart. I stood beside you through every hardship. Tell me, why did you betray me? When you were sleeping with that woman, did you ever stop to think about what it would do to me?" Taylor looked away. "Everything has a solution. I told you I'd keep supporting you. All you had to do was accept it. Plenty of men have affairs. Not every marriage ends because of it." Maya stared at him in disbelief. "Stop talking." Her voice turned cold. "How can you even say something that disgusting? You actually expect me to share my husband with another woman? Maybe the old Maya would have accepted every flaw you had because she loved you too much. But there is one thing I'll never forgive." She took a step closer. "Your affair?" Taylor's face darkened. "Fine. You want to make trouble? Then don't blame me for what happens next." Maya walked into the bedroom and returned with a folder in her hand. She placed it on the table between them. "You don't have to threaten me anymore. I already filed for divorce. The court will contact you soon." She turned, pulled the suitcase she had packed days earlier, and headed for the front door. Taylor stepped in front of her. "You're leaving?" "I'm done living with you." Maya pushed the suitcase past him without another glance. Taylor watched her walk away and let out a mocking laugh. "Let's see how long you last. You'll come crawling back sooner or later." Maya never looked back. As she stepped out of the house she had poured her heart into, pain tightened around her chest. In only a few months, everything she had built had fallen apart. She hailed a taxi and headed toward the small apartment she had rented in advance. Tomorrow, she would begin again from nothing. That night, after unpacking the few belongings she had brought with her, Maya lay awake in the small apartment she had rented. Sleep refused to come. She stared at the ceiling, thinking about the uncertain future waiting for her. Tears quietly slipped down the corners of her eyes. Being a woman sometimes felt like gambling with your entire life. She had placed all of her faith in one marriage, and now she had lost almost everything. Early the next morning, Jordan walked through the conference room, reminding everyone to prepare for the company's upcoming hiring event. The company was expanding and needed to recruit several new employees. As human resources manager, he had been placed in charge of the interviews. Sitting at his desk, he carefully reviewed each application one by one. Then he stopped. A familiar face looked back at him from one of the resumes. Jordan smiled to himself. Maya. Meanwhile, Maya got ready before sunrise. She dressed as professionally as she could for the interview. Before this, she had already interviewed with 2 different companies, but both had turned her down because she had spent several years away from the workforce after becoming a full-time homemaker. This interview felt like her last chance. If she failed again, she had already decided to leave Charlotte and start over somewhere else. When she arrived, dozens of applicants were already waiting outside the interview room. Looking around, Maya felt her confidence begin to fade. One by one, candidates were called inside. Some came back looking discouraged. Others walked out smiling. Time seemed to crawl. Eventually, Maya was the only person left waiting. She let out a quiet sigh. Maybe this won't work out either. Then her name was called. Maya stood up, took a deep breath, and walked into the interview room. She greeted the panel politely before taking her seat. The moment she looked up, her eyes landed on one of the interviewers. She almost gasped. Jordan smiled back at her as if nothing were unusual. Maya quickly composed herself and focused on the interview. The panel asked her about her education, previous work experience, and the years she had spent away from her career. Unlike her earlier interviews, Maya chose not to avoid the difficult questions. She spoke honestly about leaving her job after marriage, the years she had devoted to supporting her family, and why she had decided to rebuild her career. She finished by saying, "The years I spent away from the workplace don't define what I'm capable of today. If you give me the opportunity, I'll prove that with my work." The interview panel exchanged approving glances. Her confidence and sincerity left a strong impression. After a brief discussion, they decided to offer her the position. Maya lowered her head, fighting back tears as she thanked everyone. Before leaving the room, she looked at Jordan. He gave her a warm smile. Maya smiled back and nodded softly, silently thanking him before walking out. As Maya walked out of the building, Jordan caught up with her. "Maya," she turned around and smiled. "I didn't expect to see you here," Jordan laughed. "Neither did I. Congratulations on getting the job." "Thank you. You earned it. I didn't do you any favors," Maya nodded. "I know. Still, thank you." Jordan glanced at his watch. "Where are you headed now?" "Back to my apartment." "How about lunch?" "My treat," Maya smiled. "I can't believe we keep running into each other," Jordan chuckled. "Maybe the world really is that small." Maya lowered her eyes, avoiding his gaze. From the day she left Taylor, she had tried not to think about anyone else. Meanwhile, Taylor had moved in with Chloe. He rarely returned to the house anymore except to collect a few personal belongings. Even though he was finally living with the woman he had wanted for so long, he couldn't stop thinking about Maya. She hadn't come back begging him the way he had expected. She hadn't called. She hadn't sent a single message. He couldn't even figure out where she was living. That bothered him more than he wanted to admit. A few days later, Taylor and Maya met again at the courthouse for their first mediation session. The moment Taylor saw her, he was caught off guard. Maya no longer looked like the timid woman who had lived with him. She stood there with quiet confidence and carried herself in a completely different way. When the mediator encouraged them to reconsider the divorce, Maya answered without hesitation. "I'm certain. I want this marriage to end." Taylor kept staring at her. He couldn't understand how she had changed so much in such a short time. As they walked out of the courthouse, he deliberately slowed his pace until they were alone. "You look different these days," he said. Maya glanced at him. "Really? You look good," she smiled faintly. "Thanks. So, what have you been doing?" "Working," Taylor frowned. "You have a job?" Maya looked him straight in the eyes. "Did you think I'd spend the rest of my life depending on you?" Taylor was left speechless. Maya gave him a polite nod. "I have to get back to the office. Goodbye." She turned and walked away without another word. Taylor remained where he was, watching her disappear into the distance. She looked younger, more confident, and happier than she had ever been while living with him. The realization unsettled him. He had never imagined Maya could build a life without him. Yet she was doing exactly that. After leaving the courthouse, Taylor returned to Chloe's apartment. He lay silently on the bed with one arm behind his head. Chloe turned toward him, unable to hide her frustration. "This is all Maya's fault. If she hadn't reported us, none of this would have happened." Taylor let out a tired sigh. Because of the scandal, his promotion had been canceled. Instead of becoming vice president, he had been demoted from sales manager to assistant sales manager and transferred to another department. Chloe hadn't escaped the consequences either. The company reassigned her to a different team. She wrapped her arms around Taylor and rested her head on his shoulder. "The court is calling you again tomorrow, isn't it? Once the divorce is finalized, you'll finally cut ties with her for good." Taylor nodded. "It'll be over soon. Then we won't have to hide anymore." Chloe smiled with satisfaction. Losing the promotion didn't matter as much to her anymore. She had achieved what she wanted from the beginning. She had taken Taylor away from his wife, secured a stable life in the city, and no longer had to worry about supporting herself. A few weeks later, the divorce became official. Taylor and Maya walked out of the courthouse in opposite directions. Chloe, who had been waiting outside, hurried over and slipped her arm through Taylor's. Maya didn't even look at them. She simply continued walking. Chloe called after her. "Maya." Maya stopped and turned around. Chloe forced an awkward smile. "I hope you'll have a better life from now on. I'm sorry things turned out this way." Maya walked back until she was standing right in front of her. "You don't owe me an apology," Chloe looked surprised. Maya gave a calm smile. If anything, I should thank you. Without you, I might never have escaped a marriage that had already become toxic. Take good care of him. I sincerely hope the two of you have the life you deserve. Taylor frowned. We're divorced now. Stop talking like that. Maya looked at him without emotion. You're right. We're strangers now. She paused before adding, I hope the two of you stay happy together. Don't disappoint me. Without waiting for a response, Maya turned around and walked away. Chloe watched her leave, unable to tell whether Maya's words had been a blessing or a warning. After the divorce, Maya threw herself into her new job. She kept herself busy from morning until night, leaving little room to dwell on the past. Her dedication quickly earned the respect of everyone around her. Coworkers began noticing how reliable she was, and before long, she became one of the most trusted members of the team. Jordan quietly supported her whenever she ran into difficulties. He never made a show of it. Sometimes he stayed late to help her understand a complicated task. Other times, he left helpful notes on her desk or offered advice without making her feel embarrassed. The more time he spent with Maya, the more deeply he admired her. She had been hurt more than most people could imagine, yet she never used her pain as an excuse to stop moving forward. Maya noticed Jordan's kindness too. She knew he cared about her in a way that went beyond friendship, but every time she sensed the conversation drifting in that direction, she found a way to change the subject. She wasn't ready to open her heart again. One evening, Maya stayed late to finish a report. The office had almost emptied when a warm cup of tea appeared beside her keyboard. She looked up. Jordan smiled. Take a break before you wear yourself out. At this rate, the company won't be able to afford to keep paying you, Maya laughed softly. You're always teasing me. I'm serious. You've been working all day. I still have a lot to learn. Jordan nodded toward the hallway. Come on, let's stretch our legs for a few minutes. Maya closed her laptop and stood. Together they walked through the quiet office. Everyone else had already gone home. Their footsteps echoed softly down the hallway as the lights from the city shimmered through the windows. Maya wrapped both hands around the warm cup of tea, enjoying the comforting scent rising with the steam. Jordan walked beside her without saying a word. Every now and then, she caught him looking at her. Feeling slightly embarrassed, Maya smiled and broke the silence. Why are you still here this late? Jordan smiled. Because of you. Maya looked at him, startled. What? He laughed softly. I'm kidding. She shook her head with a helpless smile. You almost gave me a heart attack. Jordan stopped walking and turned to face her. Actually, I'm not joking. Maya's smile slowly faded. Jordan, he stepped a little closer and gently took her hand. Please don't avoid me anymore. Maya lowered her eyes. I wasn't avoiding you. You were. His voice stayed calm. Every time you realize what I'm trying to say, you change the subject. Maya didn't know how to answer. Jordan held her gaze. You don't have to give me an answer today. I just want you to know how I feel. She remained silent. I've wanted to be by your side for a long time, he continued. The first time I saw you at the fitness center, I couldn't stop thinking about you. The more I got to know you, the more certain I became. Maya, I want the chance to be the one standing beside you. Maya felt her heart tighten. It had been a very long time since anyone had spoken to her with such sincerity. Jordan, she whispered. I'm divorced. I don't even know if I can trust someone again. Jordan gave her hand a gentle squeeze. I'm not asking you to trust me today. I'm only asking you not to shut the door before I even have the chance to knock. Maya looked into his eyes. There was no pressure in them, no impatience, only warmth and honesty. Jordan smiled. Take all the time you need. I'll wait as long as it takes. Those simple words settled quietly in Maya's heart. For the first time since her marriage had fallen apart, she felt a small warmth return to a place she had believed would stay empty forever. Jordan slipped off his suit jacket and gently placed it over Maya's shoulders. Standing in front of him, she lowered her head, unable to meet his eyes. She didn't know what to say or what to do. She simply stood there in silence. Jordan took one step closer until only a small distance separated them. He placed both hands on her shoulders and slowly pulled her into his arms. Then he whispered, What I feel for you has grown too big to hide anymore. Every day I think about you. No matter where I go or what I'm doing, you're always on my mind. My heart doesn't listen to me anymore. So, you have to take responsibility for this, okay? Maya couldn't help smiling. The night air had grown colder, and without thinking, she leaned against his chest. She could hear the steady beat of his heart, warm and reassuring. A moment later, she slowly wrapped her arms around his back. It felt peaceful, safer than she had imagined. The wounds left by her broken marriage seemed to hurt a little less in his embrace. Feeling her arms around him, Jordan couldn't hide his happiness. He knew she was no longer pushing him away. Gathering every bit of courage he had, he lowered his head and kissed her hair, then her forehead, then her cheek. Maya shyly tried to step back, but Jordan held her a little closer. He buried his face in her hair and spoke softly. "Stay like this with me, just a little longer." Maya didn't answer. She simply remained in his arms. That quiet response was all Jordan needed. From that day on, Maya became a much happier person. Jordan cared for her in every little way, and she no longer avoided him. Instead, she welcomed his love with an open heart. Going to work each morning became something she looked forward to. She threw herself into every assignment, worked hard, and gladly helped her coworkers whenever they needed her. Before long, everyone in the office admired and respected her. For the first time in years, Maya felt she was living the life she had always deserved. Outside of work, she and Jordan often met at the fitness center. Maya remained committed to taking care of herself. Whenever she remembered the days she had let herself become exhausted, neglected, and overweight, she couldn't help feeling sorry for the woman she used to be. She had finally learned something she wished she had understood much sooner. No matter what stage of life a woman is in, she should never stop caring for herself. Only when you value yourself will others truly value you too. Looking back, Maya no longer blamed herself for the years she had lost. Taylor's betrayal had been a painful wake-up call, but it had also opened the door to a better life. These days, whenever she thought about her marriage to Taylor, the anger was gone. She no longer carried hatred in her heart. Sometimes, during their workouts, she caught herself looking over at Jordan. He was tall, strong, and confident. Yet beneath that appearance was a man with remarkable kindness. Every conversation they shared made her smile. Little by little, Jordan filled her life with warmth she had forgotten was possible. Before she realized it, Maya found herself wanting to spend more time with him. Her heart began racing whenever he stood close enough for her to hear his voice. One morning, Maya arrived at the office and instinctively looked toward Jordan's desk. It was empty. She called him, but he didn't answer. She sent a message, yet there was still no reply. As the hours passed, she found herself checking her phone again and again. She couldn't focus on her work. Every few minutes, her eyes drifted back to his office. The longer she heard nothing from him, the more uneasy she became. Before long, concern replaced curiosity. Just then, Emily walked over carrying a stack of documents. She frowned. "Jordan's out sick today. These papers need his signature before tomorrow, and I have no idea how to get them to him." Hearing that he was sick, Maya's heart tightened. Without thinking, she spoke up. "Why don't you let me take them to him?" Emily's face brightened with relief. "Would you? I'd really appreciate it. I still have a mountain of work to finish." Of course, Emily handed her the folder and hurried away. After organizing her own work, Maya drove to Jordan's house. She rang the doorbell several times, but no one answered. Finally, she called him. After a long pause, he picked up. "Hello," his voice sounded weak. "It's me. Open the door." A few moments later, the front door slowly opened. Jordan stood there wrapped in a blanket. His hair was messy, his face pale, and he looked exhausted. "Why are you here?" he asked quietly. Maya held up the folder. "Emily asked me to bring these papers for you to sign." Jordan stepped aside. "Come in. Just leave them on the table. I'll look at them later." "I don't have the strength right now." Maya said nothing. She helped him back to his bedroom, pulled the blanket over him, and placed her hand against his forehead. "You're burning up." "There's some medicine on the table," Jordan murmured. "I bought it yesterday," Maya nodded. "All right, but first, I'm making you something to eat." She walked into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and gathered what she needed to cook a simple pot of chicken soup. After Jordan finished eating and took his medicine, he slowly drifted back to sleep. Maya stayed by his bedside. She dipped a towel into cool water, gently wiped the sweat from his forehead, and laid the damp cloth across it to help bring his fever down. Hours later, Jordan opened his eyes. The fever had eased. Sitting beside the bed, Maya had fallen asleep while keeping watch over him. Jordan looked at her quietly, overwhelmed by the woman he loved sitting faithfully at his side. Jordan gently brushed a loose strand of hair away from Maya's face. Then he leaned forward and softly kissed her lips. Maya slowly opened her eyes. The moment she realized how close he was, her face flushed. She quickly tried to sit up, but Jordan caught her hand and gently pulled her back into his arms. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Don't go. Stay with me tonight." Before Maya could answer, Jordan kissed her again. This time, she didn't pull away. Instead, she slowly relaxed in his embrace. She gently held him as she returned the kiss. The warmth of his touch melted away the last wall around her heart. They held each other quietly, letting that gentle kiss say everything words could not. Later that night, Maya fell asleep peacefully in Jordan's arms. While she slept, Jordan quietly got out of bed and walked over to his desk. He picked up the folder Emily had sent over and carefully reviewed every page before signing the documents. There was plenty of work waiting for him at the office the next morning. Early sunlight filtered through the curtains, filling the bedroom with a gentle golden glow. Maya slowly opened her eyes and found Jordan lying beside her, watching her with a warm smile. The memories of the previous night rushed back all at once. Embarrassed, she bit her lip, pulled the blanket over her face, and hid beneath it. Jordan chuckled at her reaction. He moved closer, gently pulled the blanket down, and wrapped his arms around her once more. "Marry me," he whispered. "Let's stop making each other wait." Maya looked into his eyes, then quietly nodded. She slipped her arms around his waist and rested her head against his chest, savoring the warmth she had longed for over so many lonely years. Jordan held her tightly and kissed the top of her head. "Now let's get up, have breakfast, and head to work." Maya smiled. "Everyone must be waiting for you." "The whole office was in chaos yesterday because you weren't there," Jordan grinned. "Really? And what about you?" Maya looked away shyly. "I'm not telling you," Jordan laughed. "Come on, you were worried enough to drive all the way to my house." Maya playfully nudged him. "We'd better get ready before we're late." 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. Maya and Jordan built a marriage filled with warmth and laughter. Jordan never stopped cherishing his wife. When Maya became pregnant with their daughter, he became even more attentive. He worked during the day, then hurried home to help with the housework and take care of both his wife and their baby. Watching him hold their little girl while humming softly around the house often brought tears to Maya's eyes. She had finally found the kind of family she had once dreamed about. Happiness, she realized, wasn't something hidden far away. It had been waiting for her all along, beyond the courage to leave the wrong person behind. Taylor and Chloe eventually got married as well, but years passed without them having a child. Chloe grew increasingly anxious and kept urging Taylor to go to the hospital for a fertility evaluation. After weeks of pressure, he finally agreed. A few days later, they sat silently in the doctor's office, staring at the test results. Taylor read the report again and again, unable to believe what he was seeing. His sperm count was critically low, making natural conception extremely unlikely. Chloe burst into tears. Taylor sat frozen, his mind completely blank. The doctor's words echoed in his ears. "The chances of conceiving naturally are very low. If you want to have children, you should consider assisted reproductive treatment using donor sperm. Take some time to discuss it together before making a decision." Taylor walked out of the hospital unsteadily. "Is this my punishment?" he wondered. Chloe climbed into the car without saying a word. Her face was filled with disappointment. Neither of them spoke during the drive home. The silence between them felt heavier than ever. After learning the test results, Chloe's attitude toward Taylor changed completely. She no longer treated him with the same affection she once had. She snapped at him over the smallest things and looked at him with growing disappointment. Taylor noticed the change, but he kept trying to please her, hoping things would eventually get better. Nothing he did seemed to matter anymore. Chloe spent more and more time shopping, dining out with friends, and buying expensive things. One evening, Taylor looked at the latest credit card statement and frowned. Chloe, look at this. Every month you're spending money on things we don't even need. Chloe barely looked up. What's wrong with spending it? If we earn money, we should enjoy it, Taylor sighed. I work hard to support this family. We need to save some of it. Chloe threw him an impatient look. Save it for who? We don't even have a child. Taylor fell silent. Without another word, he walked into the bedroom. Chloe remained on the sofa, staring blankly ahead. A few days later, she went shopping with several friends at a large mall. While browsing through a clothing store, she noticed a happy family walking past. A little girl laughed happily in her father's arms while her mother held his hand. Chloe smiled without thinking, imagining how happy her own family could have been if they had a child. Then she looked closer. Her smile disappeared. The woman was Maya. Jordan walked beside her with one arm around her shoulders while their daughter laughed joyfully between them. Maya looked radiant. Jordan's eyes never left his wife and child. Chloe stood motionless as the family disappeared into the crowd. Maya had become even more beautiful than before. The warmth and happiness on her face couldn't be faked. Chloe slowly remembered something Maya had once said. You don't owe me an apology. I should thank you. Without you, I might never have escaped that marriage. Chloe lowered her head. For the first time, she wondered if Maya had been right all along. Maybe she hadn't stolen someone else's happiness. Maybe she had only taken away a life Maya was better off leaving behind. Chloe felt tears stinging her eyes. Making up an excuse about having a headache, she said goodbye to her friends and left the mall alone. Was this really my life now? She wondered. The life Maya used to live? She looked up at the sky with a bitter smile. Is this my punishment? Regret weighed heavily on her heart as she slowly made her way home. Her phone rang. It was her mother-in-law. Chloe let out a tired sigh before answering. Hello? Have you two eaten yet? Her mother-in-law asked. How have things been lately? What do you mean? Chloe replied. You know exactly what I mean. The baby. How much longer do I have to keep reminding you? You're my son's wife. We've been waiting for grandchildren for so long. Don't disappoint this family. Chloe's patience snapped. Then ask your son. What are you talking about? Your son is infertile. How do you expect me to have a baby? There was complete silence on the other end of the line. What did you just say? Her mother-in-law stammered. Ask your precious son yourself, Chloe said coldly. I've had enough. She ended the call before another word could be spoken. As she walked home, one thought kept repeating in her mind. Maya was right. She was trapped in the very marriage Maya had escaped. And unlike Maya, she couldn't find a way out. Looking back, Chloe wished she had never interfered in Maya's marriage. If she hadn't, perhaps she wouldn't be living with this regret now. Maya's story is not unique. Many women give up their careers, their dreams, and years of their lives to care for a family, believing love and sacrifice alone can hold a marriage together. Yet devotion means little when the person beside you no longer values it. Maya's greatest decision wasn't losing weight or finding love again. It was finding the courage to walk away when she realized her marriage could no longer be saved. Starting over was painful. Rebuilding her life was difficult. But in the end, that choice gave her the happiness she had always deserved. No matter how dark the road may seem, there is always light waiting at the end for those who have the courage to keep moving forward. Thank you so much for spending your time with us and for supporting our channel. We truly appreciate every one of you. Take care, and we'll see you again in the next story.